WFNY BrownsCast, part of the Evergreen Podcast Network. I'm your host, Joe Gilbert. I am going solo today as my usual partner, Taylor Jezrezak, is getting ready to go get married. So congratulations to him and good luck to him. But yeah, it's going to be me today, and we'll get you ready for the Cleveland Browns big game on Sunday versus the Baltimore Ravens. It's going to be the second AFC North matchup of the year after the Browns beat Pittsburgh earlier in the season. So, but the Browns come into the matchup 2-4. As we all know, Baltimore is now coming in at 3-3. They are actually in first place, so it just kind of shows you the kind of the little separation that there is in the AFC North right now. This podcast is brought to you by Breaking Tea. It's a great website for great kind of fun T-shirts for all the Cleveland teams: Browns, Cavs, Indians, or Guardians. You go to breakingtea.com/WFNY for 10% off, and you can get some cools. They're very creative. They have a great collection for Browns, Cavs, and Guardians. So check them out, and you can get 10% off if you go to breakingtea.com/WFNY. Okay, so let's just talk about kind of the what happened last week. I know it was a rough one last week. Browns lost 38-15 to the New England Patriots. Game was a flat one. They looked flat. We talked about it. Me and Taylor talked about it after the game on Sunday. It was one of their worst losses under Stefanski, in my opinion. The offense didn't play well, and then the defense just fell apart, like they always do, sadly. We've over the course of just the kind of the week here, there's been a lot of back and forth on what the heck's wrong with this team. Obviously, a lot of it can be placed on the shoulders and should be placed on the shoulders of Joe Woods and this defense. This is a terrible defense, and they continue to be terrible. They hardly ever have a week where they have a full complete game, and we still haven't seen any changes, and that's the frustrating part. You would think after just a butt whooping on Sunday versus a backup quarterback, a rookie quarterback, and Bailey Zappi, who just pretty much dominated them. You would think there'd be changes, coaching changes, or personnel changes. We'll still see about that, but right now there hasn't been much change. It's just mostly kind of coach talk and player talk. Like, we're going back, we're gotta execute, we gotta better communication, have more commitment, effort, which is just not what you want to hear. So right now it's on this defense to fix it, because this is the players they have, and for right now it looks like this is the coach Joe Woods that we have right now. So they have a big matchup coming up this week against Baltimore. Lamar Jackson is one of the top, I don't know, five or so quarterbacks that can beat you by himself. So it's going to be a tough matchup. Now Joe Woods has had some success over the past couple years against against Lamar Jackson. So maybe this is a good get right game, because they are familiar with how to defend him and this offense, because Baltimore hasn't really changed much. They're still Lamar Jackson or centered. That's who they are. So we'll see. But this defense needs to do something. I don't know how many more weeks we can go by when they continually do the same problems: bad tackling, miscommunication in the secondary, wide open guys. Third down defense is just atrocious. It has been for 3 years now. It's just something needs to change, and I've been clear for the past 2 weeks. Joe Woods should be out. Uh, there is a coach on the staff, Tarver, who the linebacker coach, who has play calling experience in the NFL and in college. So I believe that someone needs to be held accountable. And at this point, no one has. Like they keep saying, "Oh, we're talking about it in our meetings," but nothing changes. So at this point, I believe that there should be accountability here. Yeah, it may not fix the problems. It probably won't, because changing a coach mid-season is not going to change a whole lot. But you got to show some some commitment to just demanding success, demanding um, opportunities to fix things. Like they just haven't done that, and it falls on the coaches. And Joe Woods needs to be held accountable. There has to be accountability on this team. There hasn't been for now, what, 3 years now, because he's had what, a half good season. Last year he had what, 6 or 7 games where his defense played well, like out of what, 2.5 seasons now. Like that's not good enough. It's just not. And I guess they're gonna give him some more chances. The leash is very long for him, but something needs to change. And if it doesn't change this week, if they don't play well, I don't know how you can continue to not show some accountability and make some changes. Like that's the biggest part. There's just no accountability on this defense. There's pointing. You see it on the field each day. There's pointing. There's back and forth, like who's supposed to take him or whose responsibility is that. It's just that's where I fall back on. I know I hear the argument of, well, the making a coaching change won't change a lot, but it's not even. It's also obviously that, but it has to be also on accountability. Someone needs to be accountable for what has been put on the field and what is happening on the field. And it's sure as heck not Stefanski, because his offense is playing well besides the last week. This falls on Joe Woods, and if he can't get it right, then he needs to move aside, and someone else needs to take over. So that's where I'm at, going just kind of based off of last week and what we've seen so far. But yeah, let's get kind of going on this week. Big game, huge. These next 2 games are. I hate to say it. It's really early in the season still, but this might be the season. These next two games might be close to the season. The season's on the brink of. If they fall these next 2 games, it is a huge uphill battle to get back into this playoff race. So these next 2 games, they play in Baltimore this week and then Cincinnati next week on Halloween. They need to win these games, or at least split. At the very least, they need a split. They can't go 0-2. If they go 0-2, this is going to be a drudge to the end of the season, because I don't know how you can, like, I know we keep saying that we have to get to Deshaun Watson, but like he's going to be coming back at what, 2.5 seasons, or close to 2 seasons off of football. So how can we expect him to just be a savior from game one? So it's just, we have to set him up, and these next 2 games are just going to be critical. So let's take a look at Baltimore. Baltimore is, as I said, Lamar Jackson centered, oriented. Everything as he goes, the team goes. Their offense is heavy run oriented. They're one of the best run offenses in the league. They are their offensive line is pretty good, especially Ronnie Stanley is back now, so he is playing well. So they have a solid offensive line. Um, they they don't really they haven't really made a lot of mistakes this year. They're towards the bottom in turnovers. Last couple weeks they've actually turned it over a little bit, but overall they're a team that doesn't turn the ball over as much. So it's going to be a tough matchup. These are the Browns and the Ravens are two top 10 scoring offenses, so it's going to be a high scoring game. We'll get to our bets next soon here, but it's going to be a high scoring game. So the Browns have to keep up with with the Ravens offense. So um, now they do have Dobbins back in the backfield, so he's another threat from them in terms of the run game. They also have obviously Lamar Jackson. He's leading rusher. um, they have they have a bunch of it's a running back group that has a lot of guys that can come after you. But the main guy to focus on is Lamar. Lamar is the top runner, top passer. So he's going to be the guy to have to slow down, and that's going to be probably on JOK. He's got to be kind of be a spy all game. He can close to match his athleticism or as well as you can as a linebacker because Lamar is just a freak athlete. But yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how they defend him. But in terms of just receiving wise, Mark Andrews is their top guy by far. There's really no one even close. It's Mark. This offense is basically built on Lamar Jackson and Mark Andrews. Like they are the two keys of this offense. As they go, as the success of those two are, the offense goes. Um, they do have two receivers, Rashad Bateman and Devin Duvernay. Those are the next two kind of top receivers on their team. Devin Duvernay is probably playing a little bit better, but Rashad Bateman is kind of the deep threat. Leads the team in average per catch at 22 yards per catch. So he's definitely he can exploit the defense. And Duvernay is also a speedster too. So we got to watch out for them. But it's going to be tough especially against the Browns defense. This is going to be a tough matchup. On defense, Baltimore is average. It's not a prototypical Ravens defense. They're not very good. They're about league average at best. They struggle against the run, which is a key to the game, I think, for the Browns. So it's gonna be interesting to see. I think this is gonna be one really high scoring game. To kind of see what they can do, because I think it's first one to like 27 or something like that. It's gonna be a high scoring game. So on defense, Baltimore doesn't really get after the quarterback overly too well. Like they don't do that well at kind of getting after it. They have Jason Pierre-Paul they recently added, and then Lamar Houston. Or Justin Houston, sorry, not Lamar Houston, Justin Houston. Up front, they still have Calais Campbell, so he's definitely a guy you gotta account for, even at his age. And then you got some two young guys up front too. The secondary is pretty good. They got Marlon Humphrey and Marcus Peters. They kind of have been strolling the back cornerback room for quite a while now in Baltimore. And then you got kind of some younger guys in At safety, you got Geno Stone, and you have Chuck Clark. Chuck Clark has been in the league for a while, but and the linebackers aren't too great either. Patrick Queen kind of has a higher name than his name is more is how would I say it? He's more famous than what his talent actually puts out. Quite frankly, he hasn't played well during his career, so it's definitely a defense that you can take advantage of. You can threaten them through the air, so it's definitely going to be the Browns offense can't put together another game like last week, so they have to step up and take advantage of this defense and keep up with the Baltimore defense or offense. Okay, so in terms of just kind of advantages, how the Browns should attack. Obviously, we all know they should be running the game, running the ball. Um, but if Baltimore kind of goes about what New England did last week, where they just played all out on the run game for especially early on. This offense needs to be better passing, and that falls on Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby probably had his worst game last week, which is saying something because he's been really, really good for above my expectations so far this season. So we need a good Brissett game here because they'll need him. He's going to have to step up. The run game, I think, will still. I think they should be pretty good. They should play well. I think it'll be another kind of bounce back game for Chubb in the run game. But yeah, it's going to have to be a full attack for this offense if they want to win. Um, let's see. So on terms of so yeah, that's what I'm saying. So the offensive line is going to be a little bit hampered this week because the Browns are going to be probably without Wyatt Teller. He got injured last week, and so Froholt will step in for him. He played okay. He's not a like a huge like minus on this offensive line, so they should be able to still run well, protect well. But that's something to keep an eye on. And then other than that, the offense is pretty healthy. Um, we have Amari Cooper should have a big game, and then Njoku. I really expect a big game from Njoku because he can take advantage of the kind of poor middle of the defense that Baltimore kind of possesses. So I expect a big game from him. He's kind of my highlight key player on the offense. In terms of the Browns defense, Browns are a mess. They have to figure out a way to slow down Lamar Jackson and not have him just run big plays after big play. Their run defense has to step up, which it hasn't really done. I guess last week they played okay, but it's still they gotta play well. They gotta have the game of the season if they want to slow down Lamar Jackson and this offense because this is a high powered offense behind Jackson. He can make plays. He can make your defense look silly. So the key I think is gonna be JOK, and then kind of the edge rushers. We don't know the status of Clowney yet, but Garrett has to have a big game, and they have to keep him in the pocket. If Lamar gets out of the pocket, it's tough to handle. JOK can only do so much. He's still a linebacker versus a quarterback. One of the probably one of the most athletic quarterbacks of all time. So you have to keep him in the pocket and make him a passer. It's the same. It's really the same kind of keys that this off defending this offense for the past how many years that Lamar has been there. Keep him in the pocket, make him a passer, make the receivers make some plays because they haven't been able to overall in Lamar's career. Obviously, Andrews can because Andrews is one of the best tight ends in the league. So controlling him too is going to be key. So in terms of keys to the victory, I said it. The one of the big ones is turnovers. It's going to be because Baltimore could turns people over really well. That is one thing that the defense does well. I believe they're in the top 5 in takeaways. I think they have 8 interceptions this year. So Brissett's gotta have to be. He's got to be on his. He's got to be on his game. You can't. You can't allow. You can't allow this off the Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore offense to have a short field because you're putting this defense in an even tougher spot. They're already going to be in a in a hole because of how they've been playing and who they're playing. So you can't give them short fields, can't turn it over. So defending Lamar or being smart with the football, no fumbles, no interceptions has to be key for this offense. And then this defense needs to start making turnovers. They just have not. It's been really poor. The amount of takeaways. I believe. Let's see how many they have this year. They have 5 this year. Like that's awful. That is not good enough. This offense needs to, or this defense needs to get turnovers. Lamar has been throwing has been the offense has been struggling a little bit more over the past couple games. Lamar's got 6 interceptions, so there's opportunities to do that, but they have to do it. They have to get turnovers. Make this Baltimore make mistakes. That's going to be key. Winning the turnover battle is going to be a um, big thing for this Browns team if they want to get a win. If they don't win it, they got to be tied. So it's got to be 0-0 or something like that. They just can't. They can't hurt themselves, and they gotta kind of make Baltimore make mistakes. Some other keys, obviously, don't make Lamar a Superman. Don't let him be Superman. He does that all the time. That's how he's won games versus the Browns. We saw a couple times where he puts the offense on his shoulders and he makes the plays to win the game. They have to kind of keep him in the pocket, make him a passer, and make him make mistakes because he's thrown 6 interceptions and make more mistakes. But it's going to be a tough one. This defense hasn't played well, and they're playing one of the best offenses in the league. So it's gonna be a hard one. And then lastly, Brissett needs to be good. We need Brissett to be on his game. We can't have last week Brissett. We need we need the previous 4 games that he had before last week. He needs to play well. He needs to be accurate. He can't miss these guys when I know he's gonna miss some because that's who he is. He can be a little bit tunnel vision, as I say, kind of missing things. But if the guys are open, you gotta let him gotta hit these guys. Gotta make big plays. And Brissett's just got to be accurate and not turn the ball over, make the right decisions, and then kind of just be more accurate because he was off last week for much of the game. His accuracy was bad, and we didn't see that the first part of the season. So we need him back to being good Brissett. And then the run game obviously has to be has to has to be the Browns' run game. It has to come back from last week's tough game, and they have to become the centerpiece of this offense again. Because you, as we saw last week, when Brissett is the guy, um, he struggles. Like he's not a quarterback who can be the centerpiece of the offense. So it's got to be the run game. Get get back to running the ball. Get back to being plowing through guys and getting give the ball to Chubb, man. Just let Chubb work, and good things will happen. So that's my keys there. Um, and then let's go to our weekly prop bets. Taylor did send in his picks for this week, and we also have a special guest picker that sent in his picks, Gerbs here. So I'll go over his picks with me with today. So just last week, it was rough for both of us. We both went 2-6. Me and Taylor went 2-6. We were wrong on the Browns -2.5, obviously. Taylor did he did choose over 43.5 points, and they got 53. So he hit on that one. I got correct that uh, that New England would get under 140 in rushing yards. They got 98, which was a bit surprising. But when Bailey Zappi played so well, he took control of the game, and they didn't need the rushing game as much because they were having way too much success through the air. So that was correct for me. And then we were all wrong on the 110 rushing yards for Chubb. He only had 56. We had Brissett under 215, but he actually had 266 because he threw it, I think, 45 times or something like that. So we were both wrong on that. We both did get correct that the Browns wouldn't have over 1.5 sacks. They had two. I believe they were both from Myles Garrett. So that was our last correct one. And then we all missed on who had the most receiving yards. It wasn't Cooper. It wasn't Njoku, who I had. It was actually Donovan Peoples-Jones. He had some big catches, and so that got us wrong. And then our predictions were not great. We both had the Browns winning, and that obviously did not happen. So, okay, so let's go to this week. Right now, the Browns sit at Browns +6. So me and Taylor and Gerbs have all taken the Browns +6. I think, and we'll get later to our actual predictions, but I think it's going to be a close game. I don't think it's going to be a rerun of last week where the Browns were simply not in the game for most of the game. Um, I think it's going to be a close game. Both offenses are really good. Both defenses, especially the Browns, are struggling. So I think it's going to be a high scoring game, but also a close game. So I'll go Browns +6, just like Gerbs and Taylor did. Over under 45.5 is where the points are right now. Me and Taylor are in agreement. We both think over. As I said, this is going to be a high scoring game. These are two top 10 offenses in scoring, and I think it's just going to continue. Both defenses are struggling. It just seems like a recipe for a lot of points. So I definitely think over 45.5 is what's going to happen. Gerbs actually believes it's going to be under, which I can see. You never know with this matchup. It could be just two running games, and the game goes quick, and there's not a lot of possession. So that could happen. But me and Taylor are going to go over on that one. 315 total yards for Lamar Jackson. So that's passing yards and rushing yards. I think this is pretty simple, as does Gerbs and Taylor. I think we're all in agreement that this is going to be over. He averages 212 yards passing per game and then 75 yards rushing. So his average is about two. What is that? 289 or no, 287. So, and they're playing the Browns defense. So that's why the over under is 315. Um, and I just think the offense is based on Lamar, and he's playing a bad defense in the Browns defense. So I think it's a recipe for him having a big game. I think he'll have his big games on the run, on kind of escaping the pocket, and then he will get some yards through the air too. He'll get probably a 250 or something like that, and that's all you need. If you only need what 70. If he averages a 75, he'll hit the over on that. So that's where I'm thinking, and that's where all of us are thinking. All of us are taking the over on the 315 total yards for Lamar. Next one up is Nick Chubb over under rushing 100 rushing yards. Once again, me, Taylor, and Gerbs are all in agreement. I think this is a clear over. Besides last week, um, Chubb has been great, and hitting over 100 yards rushing has been pretty easy for him. So I think that continues. Baltimore's not great. It's not a great defense. They can be run against, and I think the Browns are able to do that. I think Nick Chubb will be leading the run game and getting over 100 yards. The next one is over under 80 receiving yards for Mark Andrews. Me and Taylor are agreeing once again. I think he'll get over that. Taylor agrees with that. He believes that it's going to be over 80 yards. It's just kind of combination of where this defense is, the history of what the Browns defense has done versus talented tight ends, and then how important Mark Andrews is to this Baltimore offense. They need him to be successful. He averages receiving wise, he averages 75 yards a game. So it would be slightly above his average, but this is the Browns defense we're talking about. So I think it's a clear over on that one. Gerb says under, but he did give me the caveat that he'll have 2 touchdowns. So it's still going to be a big game for Mark Andrews in Gerb's eyes. And then the next one is over under 62% completion percentage for Jacoby Brissett. He's been around that for most of the game. I think he has, let me go through his, what he had before, during his season so far. He's been around that mark. His average for the season is pull it up here. It is 60%. So that's his average. So he's last week was his worst week. He was 46%. And that's just not simply good enough. So he's been over 62% twice. He was 81% on. Let me see, not twice. Excuse me. He's been over, twice. He's been over that mark twice. Week 2 and 3 versus Pittsburgh and the Jets. He had 81% and 67%. But he also has been below it 4 times. Barely versus the Chargers, he had 61.8% completion percentage, but and then barely for the Atlanta game, he was 60%. His 2 worst games came last week and then week 1. Last week he was at 46%, and then week 1 he was at 52%. So it kind of gives you, he's been around 60% for much of the season, but he's had his really bad games and then really good games. So as I said in the kind of keys to the game, they are gonna have to they have to get good, accurate Brissett during the versus the Ravens. He has to be good. So I believe he'll get over, and Gerbs and Taylor also believe that he'll get over 62% completion percentage for this game. And they need this offense has to have a good Brissett performance, and over 62% is going to be a good one for him. So we're all over on that. The next one is most receptions. So it's Amari Cooper, David Njoku, Donovan People-Jones, or the field. Taylor went with Cooper. He's led the team in receptions a few times. And then me and Gerbs took David Njoku. As I said, I really believe that Njoku is going to have a huge game this week. He should be the centerpiece of the offense in terms of the passing game. The centerpiece should be the run game and Nick Chubb. But the Browns need to have David Njoku as the centerpiece of the passing game. He should take advantage of Patrick Queen and the linebackers. He's better than them, and I think he's gonna have a big game. I think they're gonna Brissett's gonna find him a lot, and he's gonna get a lot of receptions and a lot of yards too. So that's my thinking there. So last thing is our prediction, Browns game prediction here. We are all going Ravens. Yeah. The last week, as me and Taylor kind of said, last week was kind of our breaking point. We can't further predict Browns winning until they show us. So Taylor says Ravens 31-26. Gerbs just said Ravens by a lot. So he said the wheels are going to come off for the Browns. So that was his prediction. And then I said Ravens 27-24. So that would be 51 points. So it would be hit the over, obviously, which is what I said it would. But yeah, it's gonna be a high scoring game, a close game. I think. Yeah, so it's gonna be an interesting game, but I think the Ravens are gonna win. I just don't have confidence in this defense to make the necessary stops, necessary changes to kind of slow down Lamar enough to get this victory. And I hope I'm wrong. We all hope we're wrong. But the Browns just have to show it, and right now they're not showing it. That's why I'm going Ravens 27-24. Yeah, so that's basically it. This is a huge week, as I said. They really need to the Browns need to make a statement. Who they are going to be for the rest of the season kind of depends on these next two games. Are they still in the hunt, or is this team just playing for not much? Because these are two huge games against AFC rivals, AFC North opponents. The Browns are already 1-0 versus the AFC North with that win versus Pittsburgh. So getting another victory, another two victories would just be huge to turn around the season, get them back going, and get them kind of in a good position for this division. I don't know if the wild card is in the future for this team, or pretty much anybody in the AFC North, because it's a struggling division right now. So I just think it's going to be, if Browns want to have a season, have a playoff run, it starts this week. They have to play well against Baltimore and win, and they have to play well in the next two games. 2-4, they have to get back to 500. Try to get back to 500 as quick as possible. And it starts this week, and it's going to be a big game for Joe Woods. I'm still going to put him on the hot seat. He should be on the hot seat until his defense actually shows some consistent good play. and yeah, that's where I'm at. So yeah, it's basically Browns what uh, a matchup where this team needs a win. It's an early season must win in my eyes. So thanks for joining me. It's it was weird not having Taylor with me, but hopefully he'll be back soon once he gets married and goes on his honeymoon there. So once again, congrats to Taylor, and thanks for joining us. This is once again the WFNY Browns cast, part of the Evergreen Podcast Network, and thanks and go Browns.